Earlier this year, I took 3 months off my job as a doctor in the emergency department, and I went and travelled the world. And while I was on the other side of the planet in Melbourne, Australia, I messaged Phillymed, who's someone that I'm friends with on Instagram, and I asked her if she'd like to meet in real life to be interviewed for my channel. Philly has such an inspirational story, and I just couldn't wait to share it with you guys. So she has overcome so much adversity, from failing exams to being diagnosed as an adult with ADHD, and I just know that you guys are going to love her and love her story. So let's dive into it.
So I'm Philippa. I'm a student at the moment at the University of Warwick. I'm in my 4th year of my MBA, which is biomedical science. I'm currently in Melbourne as I'm doing a placement at Monash University, where I'm helping to create a augmented reality virtual heart for the purpose of education. I've just been offered a place at medical school for graduate entry at Newcastle, which I'm really excited about, and I'm waiting to hear from Warwick. So,
oh, that's amazing! So excited for you. There's loads I want to dig into about your story and how you actually got to the point where you've got an offer from medical school and waiting to hear back from Warwick. So the reason that I became really interested in Philly and why I suggested that we meet up, apart from the fact that we're both in Melbourne at the same time, was that she recently published a blog post about her story and about her life, and it just really sparked something in me. I thought that a lot of you guys who watch would be really interested in her story because it's not your typical medical entry story, and I know that a lot of you who watch my channel talk about how you didn't get the GCSEs you wanted, you didn't get the A-levels you wanted, you don't have the confidence or the intelligence to be a doctor. And I think that your story really shows that you can just blast all of those ideas out of the water and realise that there is no one set path to getting into medical school, and you don't need all of those things. There are other ways of getting into medical school and achieving your dreams.
absolutely.
I just want to ask you loads of questions, if
Yeah,
that's okay.
no, absolutely.
So I've written quite a lot of them down. So let's just start at the start. Where did you grow up?
So I was born in Gloucester, and then when I was about 4 or 5 years old, we moved to Worcester. Yeah, and went to just a normal primary school, and then a normal high school. So I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do.
Oh really? You didn't know in high school?
I wanted to be an interior designer.
Oh wow, cool.
My mum told me I wasn't creative enough, so...
And then did you have any idea in high school about medicine or becoming a doctor?
Not really. So I honestly had no idea that I wanted to work in healthcare. I think I always thought that medicine was probably one of the hardest degrees that you could do.
Yeah.
So I just always thought, oh, that's not something that's achievable for me. Why would someone like me ever get into medicine? Mm-hmm. I didn't even realise you could do graduate entry. I didn't even realise that was a thing then. I just always assumed that it just wouldn't be something attainable for me. So I guess that's why I never really considered it.
So when you just explained that then, you said you never thought someone like me could do it. What do you mean by that?
I don't know. My mum brought myself and my sister up on her own. So we never, I came from sort of like a poor background, and I just always thought that it would people that went to private school or had like wealthy parents. So I know that's completely not true, and it's definitely not true now. But I guess I just always thought, because I wasn't from that kind of background, that it wouldn't be something I would ever be able to do.
So tell me about your secondary school then, and what GCSEs you did. How did you do in your GCSEs? What did life look like around the age of 15, 16 for you? Because I know a lot of my viewers are sort of teenagers.
Yeah, so I was a bit of a nightmare at school, really. I was always top sets, so I had the intelligence there, but I didn't really know my potential. I was more interested in making friends, getting out with my friends. Around 14, 15, we'd try and get people to buy us alcohol and things like that. At school I enjoyed school, but I would frequently get sent out of lessons for being disruptive. It was a bit of a weird one because I did achieve academically. I was often disruptive, but at the same time I was a good student. Yeah. So I think it depended on who my teachers were, what lessons it was. Some days I would just be bored, or I would just be in the mood to just be annoying, which was a bit silly really, and I guess a bit immature. So yeah, I guess I was just a bit naughty. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do, I thought I was quite creative. I guess I am creative, I'm just not very good at art. So I loved textiles, so that was one of my options. And my other option, so we got to choose two, and a language, was art. But the problem is I'm my own worst critic. So I would do a piece of art, think it was awful, scrunch it up and start again. And my art teacher said, the whole point in art is that we grow and you get better.
Yeah.
But I was too impatient and was never happy with my work, so I dropped it and took PE instead.
Okay.
And I loved PE, and I really enjoyed the physiology side of it as well. So I really loved learning about the human body. So I guess that was one of my, the first sort of time I realised, I actually like this side of, I still wasn't thinking, medicine, but I did enjoy the physiology side. However, not long after I started PE, I was like, I've changed my mind, I want to do art again. And my teacher said, no, you're too indecisive. You are classically indecisive. You changed your mind once and we allowed it, but no.
Yeah.
You can't just keep going back and forth. You've made a decision, you have to stick with it. And that was it. So
I can really relate to that. I'm someone who I'm quite indecisive in a lot of ways, and I change my mind a lot. So that must have been how did it feel when you were told you can't do this and you've got to stick with what you've done?
Well, I always throw my toys out the pram when I don't get what I want, but I think I thought, yeah, fair enough. I've messed them about a bit, and
yeah, it's a good life lesson, I suppose.
Yeah, God, this is really bad. So I was just a bit some days I would be the perfect student, other days I was just a nightmare. And I remember going into my maths GCSE and thinking, I can't be bothered to do this. This is just pointless. I can't answer any of the questions, which was stupid because I think if I tried, I probably would have been able to answer them. So I just put my head down and didn't sit the exam.
No.
So I think I would have got a U in that, but my coursework brought my grade up to a D.
There's just so much pressure on teenagers. At that age, you're not fully developed. You're going through so much emotionally. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure to achieve and to make decisions that are going to impact your whole future. And at our school, I don't know if it was the same at your school, but we constantly got told the decisions you make now are going to have ramifications in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And that was a lot of pressure for me. I think it's such a shame that one exam and that one day had that much say in your future. It's really difficult.
I just don't understand. Well, I understand now, but I don't understand at the time where that attitude came from, because I was really disappointed with myself, or more annoyed with myself. Why did I do that? That's just I felt like a bratty child.
Yeah.
Just saying, I can't do it, so I'm just not going to do it.
I had a similar experience with. I don't know if I've talked about this on this channel actually. I had a similar experience with my maths AS level. I got a U in that. And when I first sat it, and it was a similar thing, but I was just I was being really disruptive in class because I was bored. I did well in my maths GCSE, so I assumed that maths AS level would be just easy and I would be able to study a minimal amount and work it out as I went along. Wasn't the case. I didn't work hard enough. Became really disruptive, and then when it came to the exam I didn't know what I was meant to be doing. I guessed loads of my answers, got a U, and I remember being really disappointed in myself and realising oh my god, this is all on me, I need to just buck up my ideas a bit. After your GCSEs, what was next for you? Did you do A levels? Did you go to college?
Yeah, the natural progression was to go to sixth form, but I just had no idea what I wanted to do. Actually, I remember, this is something I find quite ironic now. I did biology, chemistry and physics because I remember saying, 'cause that's what you need to be a doctor, which was really bizarre because I'd never even thought I want to do medicine, I want to be a doctor. I just knew that those are the A levels that you would need.
So there was something subconsciously saying,
but unlike your school where they said, this is going to have an impact on your future in a couple of years when you go to university, I don't ever remember having that conversation. So I never remember teachers sitting down. I don't have any careers advice. I went and sat there, I didn't sit them. So I endeavoured to sit those A levels. Yeah. With that subconscious sort of, because that's what you need to do medicine. And I just absolutely couldn't do it. I enjoyed the textiles so much that I spent all of my time doing that. I didn't really go to my lessons for the science. I remember being in chemistry and we had a mock exam and I hadn't been to any of the classes, I hadn't done any work, and I sat on my phone trying to Google the answers. And I just couldn't do it because it was so specific, and I just thought, what am I doing with my life? This is just not sustainable.
Yeah.
So I dropped out with the sort of intention of going back the following year and starting again. So I worked in bars and restaurants for the remaining year, enjoyed it, and I always had the intention of going back, which I did. I went back to college, did the same thing, but this time I did textiles, history, biology and chemistry, I think, or biology and physics, I'm not sure. And the same thing happened.
The same thing happened in that you were not working hard enough and just not achieving.
Yeah, I just couldn't find the motivation. I was more interested in, I think by this point I turned 18, I could drive, and I was just more interested in going out with my friends. I'd go to college hungover, but at the time, and it all makes sense now because I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD, that I think it was because of that, because I didn't have any sort of real ambition at the time. So I just couldn't see the point.
Yeah, so it was almost like self-sabotage, may as well completely ruin it, and rather than do half and half.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was my attitude as well, was if I'm not going to get 3 A's, then there's no point.
Yeah. So going back to when you were talking about when you were doing art at GCSE, and you mentioned that you would like draw a picture, and if it wasn't good enough you'd screw it up and throw it away. It almost seems like there was a pattern of behaviour coming about where you were like, if it's not good enough, what's the point?
Yeah.
Throw everything away.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's like perfectionist tendencies?
I think so, because I do that now.
Yeah.
I'll write a piece of work and I'm like, oh, if I'm typing, I'll just delete it all and start again. And I think that's something I'm really trying to work towards.
Yeah. After you dropped out the second time, what happened after that?
So my plan was just to carry on working in my bars and restaurants, because I was really enjoying that. It was really social, but my stepdad sat me down and said, look, if you're not going to get an education or a vocation, then you've got to move out. And I think at that point I was like, well, yeah, fine, I'll move out. But then I think I realised actually he's not being horrible to me, he's actually, he cares about me and he wants me to do something with my life. And I thought to myself, oh, maybe I could get an office job where I could progress to become something corporate, or just get a qualification on the job. And so my stepdad took me to the job centre, and I love this. I wonder if they still have them now. And there was this machine, and you literally flick through it. It felt like, what is Tinder now? No. And I remember seeing trainee dentist, and I thought, oh, like that sounds like a bit for me. I think I could do that. Yeah. I hate going to the dentist, but I could definitely be a dental assistant. That sounds great. So I applied for the job and I got it. I started a couple of weeks later and I absolutely loved it. But I realised very quickly that I didn't want to be the assistant. It's a great job. It's challenging and I really enjoy it, and it's perfect if you want that sort of work-life balance. But I did very quickly realise that I would rather be the dentist. Yeah. And I knew that I had the ability to get the grades. I just would have to work for it. Because I was predicted 13 A stars at GCSE. I remember getting my results and my mum was like, I was really pleased with them because I think I did better than my sister. And my mum was really disappointed, and I said, well, I did better than Sam. Not that me and my sister compete, because we're not like that at all. Like, we love each other, we're best friends. And she was like, yeah, but your sister wasn't predicted 13 A stars, you were, and you're capable of getting these grades, and I'm just disappointed that you didn't work for them. Yeah, you didn't push yourself. And that was probably the first time that I'd actually really sat and thought, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm really glad that my mum didn't push me, because I feel like it would have had the opposite effect, and I probably would have sort of just been a bit resistant. So I'm glad she didn't, and she does actually say to me now that she always knew that I would go away and do things in my own time, and I would achieve things in my own time. And I'm grateful to be doing this at this age, because I think it's given me the opportunity to get some real work experience, to know that this is definitely what I want to do. Yeah. Because I have met a couple of junior doctors who have decided to step away from medicine because they didn't, they had parents who sort of encouraged them to do medicine, right? Because they wanted them to do it, as opposed to the actual individual. And so I do think I think being pushed into something I know for me, it certainly would have had the opposite effect.
So, okay, you're at the point where you are a trainee trainee dental assistant?
Dental assistant, dental nurse.
Okay. Can you just give me a roundup of, like, what age were you at that point? Were you 18?
19.
19,
18,
okay.
19.
Can you give me a kind of summary of, you're 28 now, of what the next 9-10 years looked like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, as soon as I started dental nursing, I very quickly realised that I wanted to do something else. So I thought, I'm going to be a max fax surgeon. So I'll need to go redo my GCSEs, get A levels, go to dental school, go to medical school. And I went to see a careers lady at college, and she basically was like, that's aiming quite high. Are you sure that's what you want to do? And at the time I was just like, yeah, the sky's the limit. I'll just redo things. But I very quickly realised that most major unis don't accept GCSE resits. So I thought, forget that, I'll do something else. And then I realised there were other careers within dentistry. So I looked at doing dental hygiene and therapy. So for the next couple of years I worked towards that. So I started working at the dental hospital. It was a really good job. I was band 4, the holiday was great, the pay was great. You had all the benefits, sickness, if I wanted to have a baby, like the maternity was excellent. And I realised that I would be 27 by the time I qualified, which meant that there was plenty of time to get married and have babies.
Yeah.
I worked towards that. I tried to teach myself A levels, which absolutely just didn't work. Doing a distance learning course when you're not really dedicating the time to it, I ended up getting a U in my biology. I got offered a place at the dental school, but I didn't get it because I didn't meet the conditions. So I decided to do an access course in science, so access to science at Worcester. And I didn't get one interview, and I just couldn't understand why. I thought my personal statement was good. I'd been to the careers people who looked over it. I was just really kind of distraught. I just thought, what on earth am I going to do? Decided to do biomedical sciences. I went to Warwick. My intention was to apply for Bristol the following year, and if I got offered a place, I would just drop out of Warwick. I managed to get some work experience with a GP in a hospital. I sat the UCAT. I did a personal statement, so my application was done and sent off, and I was immediately rejected. I couldn't understand why. I just thought, well, that, why have I been rejected? Because I meet the entry requirements. And I thought, oh right, okay, well they're discriminating against access courses, of course. Why would I get in? I don't have A levels. I'm not a typical candidate, so that'll be why. And I called up and they said, oh, it's because we don't accept transfers. And I was like, but I'm not transferring. I don't understand what you mean. They said, if you fail to complete an undergraduate degree, then you don't meet our entry requirements. And I said, but I wouldn't be failing to meet. I wouldn't be like not completing an undergrad. I'd be leaving one to come to Bristol. So it's not that I failed the degree. And they went, yeah, we don't accept transfers. And then I realised what it meant, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And again, all this doubt set back in, and I just thought, clearly I'm not meant to do it, or I'm not good enough. So again, I sat with my mum and I said, look, this is going to add another couple of years onto the total of education, but I want to finish my biomedical sciences degree and I want to go for graduate entry medicine. So one of the reasons why I chose Warwick as well was because they have a pre-med support workshop. So I knew that going to Warwick would probably help me to get into medicine, and I just decided, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my biomedical sciences, and then I'm going to apply for medicine and see what happens. And thankfully, my mum supported that. So.
Okay, good. And if your mum hadn't have supported that?
I'd have done it anyway.
Okay, but you just do you feel in some way that you needed some validation or some permission or something?
I think so, because I was a bit of a nightmare when I was a teenager. I probably felt as though mum was right at the time. Yeah. So I should... You trusted her judgment. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it's a bit of... Because she was so disappointed when I got my GCSE results. I guess I didn't realise my own potential, and when I saw mum was disappointed, I was like, oh. Okay. Because my mum loves us too much to ever be disappointed in anything we do. Like, to her, everything is, oh, well done, I'm really proud of you. And so it's the first time I was like, oh, okay. And whereas doing something so big as this, I kind of wanted that validation.
Absolutely, I get that.
So
you went from a point where you got your GCSEs that you weren't happy with to a point of now you have been offered a place at a graduate entry medical school and you're waiting to hear back from another one.
Yeah.
Throughout that whole story that you've told, it sounds like there's a lot of setbacks and a lot of I don't want to say failures because actually they're not failures, but rejections from courses, trying to do something and there being an obstacle in the way. You never gave up and you've always had this kind of underlying determination. Where do you think that drive comes from?
I honestly don't know. I think every time I'd get one of these obstacles, it would just tear me apart. But once I'd started it, and I think it was when I quit my job as a dental nurse, I didn't want that to be in vain.
Yeah.
So I just thought, no, I have to persist.
Yeah.
Because going back to what my stepdad said to me all those years ago, I knew that I wanted to make something of my life. And I think I started to realise that things happen for a reason. That getting into med school is not, getting into any kind of course isn't easy. It's not something that can just fall into your lap. Like, you have to work for it.
I can very much relate to that. And I think like going back to when you said that you've met junior doctors who've kind of said that they're going to drop out of medicine and go and do something else, I can see now how that could be completely unfathomable to you because you've had this determination and drive to get to that point. You can't imagine someone else's mindset of I'm just going to change careers.
One thing I've really learned over the last few years is how important it is to be resilient, and you can't just be resilient, you have to go through these motions to build that resilience.
Definitely.
And I think that's essential for a career in medicine as well. And
there's something to be said for picking yourself up and carrying on, because at the end of the day you could have gone back to your job having a comfortable career with good benefits, the maternity pay, the pension, everything else. Exactly.
I almost did do that.
And there's a fine line between that comfort and then driving to do what you really want. And something that I try and always say to you guys when you message me about asking what you should do with your future is just remembering that people kind of put this pressure of like, you get one shot. You don't get one shot. You get what you make of it, and it's whether you push yourself, isn't it, to keep going. You said in your blog post, there was a quote that really hit hard, and I felt really sad reading it. It was, maybe I'm just too much. And you were talking about your own insecurities and self-doubts about being rejected from certain things. How do you deal with negative self-talk?
Again, I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD and it's taken a long time to get to that point. I always knew that there was something, not wrong, but I react to things quite extremely compared to other people. And last year when I didn't get, not last year, the year before, 2018, when I didn't do well in my UCAT, it just absolutely destroyed me. I went into like a state of depression and I ended up going and getting a referral to a psychiatrist. And it transpired that I have ADHD, which actually makes a lot of things make sense. So when I think back to when I was at school and I was quite disruptive, but still an achiever, having that diagnosis has helped me to really understand a lot of my behaviours. So I don't get so angry with myself anymore. I actually kind of give myself a bit of a break, and I'm just like, that this is, you can't help it. Sometimes when you act a certain way or you are a certain way, it's not your fault. So this week I've been waiting to hear back from Warwick and I've been so unproductive, and it got to the stage where I got really upset with myself and I was like, I can't do any work, and I almost went into this self-hate, and I just thought, no, that's not fair, because you've worked really hard, you've already got a place for medicine, which again I'm super grateful for, but I just tried to get on top of it. I tried to get on top of it before it happens. I think sometimes you just need to be aware of your own mind, and I've started meditating a lot, and that's really helped me. It kind of quietens down all the sort of busyness in my head. I try to do is remind myself that I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow from this, and I'm going to look back and almost be grateful for the crap times, because they help to build you as a person. So.
I can relate. Again, there's so much of what you said I can relate to, and I think it's the fact that I've had a few hurdles, and maybe we haven't got the same story and I haven't got the same hurdles that you've had, but we went for a coffee before we did this interview, and we were talking about our experiences of working as a healthcare assistant and the difficulties that we faced doing that. And the difficulties of getting into medical school. And I remember when I got into medical school, that first year of medical school, I'd been working in that same hospital for about a year before. And I just remember walking to the hospital when I was an HCA thinking, one day I'm going to be walking to here as a medical student, not just as an HCA. And not that there's anything wrong with being a healthcare assistant, but it wasn't my dream for my future. And that whole year, walking to medical school, walking into that hospital as a medical student, I was just pinching myself, thinking, I can't believe that this has finally happened. And I think it was all those hurdles that I'd gone through that really made that victory so much sweeter for me. And I think you're going to have the same experience.
I hope so, because I do the same at Warwick Hospital. Like, I would often think to myself, you need to remind yourself of the goal. You have to put the work in, but imagining yourself walking into that hospital as a med student as opposed to a HCA, like, that's when you know that you've done it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
right, I've got 3 more questions for you.
Okay.
I'm going to have to get rid of a lot of the questions I had prepared for you about why you wanted to choose Max Facts, loads of other questions about your family dynamics and your upbringing, things like that. But you're actually thinking about starting a YouTube channel yourself, aren't you? So maybe people can find out more about you there. Do you have any resources like Instagram pages, blogs that you follow, YouTube channels, books, films, people who've really inspired you that have made a difference and that you could recommend to any of our viewers?
Absolutely. So first of all, Grey's Anatomy, that's where it all stemmed from.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people.
Don't say that in a medical school interview.
Can you imagine?
Oh God.
Yeah.
So why do you want to be a doctor? Well, Meredith Grey. No, don't say that.
Yeah.
You absolutely won't get in if you say that. So I guess I first started really using YouTube when I was doing my UCAT.
Yeah.
So a couple of the resources that I found really helpful were Karma Medic. Some of his UCAT stuff really helpful. Medic Mind, I think. I need to double check that one though. Instagram was really helpful. So I read a lot of blogs, and it was really great actually to see other people's journeys, and
it's really inspiring, isn't it?
Yeah, it is inspiring, and it makes you feel like not isolated.
Yeah.
So grad entry med or graduate Sam, her name's Sam, she goes to Newcastle, she's great. I bought a book by Michael O'Carter.
Okay.
It's a red and white book, and that really helped me with my UCAT. It helped me to prioritise my studying. It made me realise that it's not just something you study for, you have to develop a technique.
Have you got any other points that you would make to our viewers who are thinking about doing medicine, who are maybe already in medical school, and who are struggling a bit with whether I fit in or whether I should be doing this?
Absolutely. I think it's so easy to assume that there is a clique or a niche that you have to be a part of to be in medical school, but one of the beautiful things about it is that it's such a diverse community, and you can be one of the things I'm looking forward to about medical school is that people are going to be from different backgrounds, and you can learn so much from different people and their experiences. So I think it's not about fitting in, it's about how you sort of manipulate it to work for you, I guess.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to write that down.
So instead of thinking that you have to change yourself to meet sort of social standards or whatever, absolutely not. Like, make the situation the best for you.
The final question is, how can people find more about you? How can people hear your story? How can people connect with you online?
So my Instagram is Phillymed. I'm trying to blog, so I've done my first blog post,
which is amazing. Check it out. So I just want to say thank you so much for being on my channel. It's been an absolute joy to meet you, and I hope that we get to meet you again in the future.
Me too.
And I'm going to round this video up now, so have a look at the description box below. I've got all of the resources and the main takeaways that Philly has mentioned here. Go and follow her on Instagram. You will have a great time looking at all of her posts, and thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Let's go shopping.
Yes. God, I'm sweating.